Hello, welcome to Let's Race Grand Prix Legends. Here we are at the 1965 United States Grand Prix, beautiful upstate New York. Watkins Glen is the circuit. I'm really excited for this one, obviously being my home race. Not too far away from where I live, actually. And so I'll be looking to do well here today, but there's big news this week. Very big news. That's right, I'm not racing for Ferrari any longer. They let me go. That's one of the possible outcomes that could have happened after the crash last race with Bandini. Monza is the biggest race for Ferrari. A lot of pressure there to do well. Obviously, they're adding another fourth car during that race. They want their Ferrari team to do really well, home in Italy, to sell Ferrari cars, and the fans want Ferrari to do well too. And my incident taking out both myself and Bandini, where we were both in the points, was just not going to fly, and the team let me go. And I was scrounging to find a ride for the United States Grand Prix, and luckily there's a little time between the Italian Grand Prix and the United States Grand Prix, and that let me, doors opened up with Brabham. They said they would have a ride for me. Obviously, I think they're making money off of promotion. The United States fans, the American fans, want to see an American driver in the field, with Dan Gurney and the others. So I was able to snag a ride with Brabham for these next two races, United States and Mexico. And we'll see how I do well, how well I do in these two will dictate what I get in the future. And some might see that as jumping down the ladder. Brabham hasn't done extremely well this season. Both Dan Gurney and Jack Brabham. Dan Gurney's in 4th, which isn't too bad. Brabham's in 9th. Denny Holm is in 9th as well. Not doing terrific throughout the season, but I think maybe I can breathe some life into the team and do well for them. But one snag there is I'm driving one of the older cars, the BT7. They're driving the BT11 currently. The BT7 used by some of the other teams as well, so I'm not the only one out there with it. But it's a little bit, less evolved of a car, so we'll see how I can do. I feel like it's down on top speed a little bit, especially, the Ferrari was a pretty quick car in a straight line, and I think this one's a little bit slower, and it's a 6-speed, which is taking some getting used to. The Ferrari 512 was a 5-speed, and just getting used to shifting in 6th gear as the top gear and going into a corner and shifting down to 5th first before you go into 4th and 3rd takes some getting used to. But around this track I've actually done pretty well just using 5 gears, so we'll see how that works out. So this is obviously second to last race of the season, and there's only 3 races total left in 1965, one non-championship race after the season's over, and we'll talk about that more when we get to it. It's a pretty important race. But so why don't we take a look at the point standings here. Graham Hill's in 1st with 42 points. He's had a really good season, obviously 4 wins so far. His worst finish right now that's being counted as a 5th place, and that's likely to be dropped today. So he's going to be definitely the one to beat, and Jim Clark is setting out to do that. He's in 2nd place, 39 points, only 3 points back. He's going to drop a 3 points race, so he's actually doing better, I think, than Graham Hill. And after this race, we'll see who comes out on top. 3rd place, John Surtees. Other big news for Ferrari. He's hurt himself in a sports car crash in Canada, and is not able to attend this race, likely not able to attend the next race in Mexico either. So that leaves him out of the championship, sitting there with 33 points. Had an okay shot if he was at these 2 races, but he isn't. And so it'll be interesting to see if maybe Dan Gurney can leapfrog him for the 3rd place in the championship or not. But that's likely where John Surtees is going to stay. With 33 points for the end of 1965. Kind of a sad end to the 1964 champions run here, but things happen, especially in racing. People get hurt and stuff. So 5th place, Jackie Stewart with 20 points. Did well in the last race where I did not do well, and was able to get in front of me here. But I still think I can catch him. I'm in 6th place, and we'll see how this race turns out. But I'm only 4 points back, so I'm just going to make up 4 points on Jackie Stewart. And you never know. I think the BRM's kind of unreliable sometimes, so we'll see how we do there. So why don't we talk about the race today? The real race run over 110 laps here. Watkins Glen Circuit, really a classic. This race actually won the best organized race of the year for 1965. It was a great race that featured some rain. Graham Hill ended up winning from Dan Gurney and Jack Brabham in second and third, so that's good for me. 2 Brabham cars in second and third, so hopefully I can match that same finish there. Maybe get my best finish yet. Jim Clark in the race had a engine problem. I believe it was a piston went bad, and he wasn't able to challenge Hill for the win. And actually, I think the finish was rather close. Hill had been leading by quite a lot, but his tires were not as good in the rain. When the rain came, the Brownland cars on the Goodyear tires closed up rather quickly, but we're not able to pass him for the finish there. So why don't we take a look at this Watkins Glen circuit. It's a 2.3 mile track, pretty short, but kind of flowing. I really like it. 8 turns, and it's still this first section, the straightaway here where the start line is in this race. The S's and this what they call the front straight and part of the loop are still there today. Of course, this front straight has a bus stop chicane in it now. And this, the start-finish line, this is actually, the first corner is this one now. And they kind of built this out to a straightaway. But it's still loved by fans today, this track, and it's an awesome place to race. Fast and technical, but short. You'll see what we're doing. 17 laps. The real Grand Prix, I said, had 110 laps. Quite a lot of laps, but it's not like they take forever because it's a pretty short track. So why don't we take a look at the qualifying here. Graham Hill got the pole, really good for his championship hopes, obviously, with a 108.55, very quick. Dan Gurney in second, nearly a second off of him, so Graham Hill's really in the class of his own here. Jim Clark in third, hopefully, starting on the inside as well. Hopefully he'll be able to pass Graham Hill for his sake, of course. Jackie Stewart in fourth, Lorenzo Bandini in fifth, my old teammate, and me, Richie Axelson, in sixth place, qualifying really well in the BT7, out-qualifying Brabham, at least Dan Gurney, obviously, and the other Brabham ahead, but I'm thinking sixth place is pretty good, obviously, to start from and get points. Unfortunately, it's on the outside, and I'll have to deal with that, but I think it's actually kind of in the middle, which is not a good starting spot, but I think I'll be able to deal with it, and we'll see what happens here. So, it's a lot of talking, but a lot of stuff's happened since the last race, and I think it was worth talking about. So anyway, why don't we get started with the 1965 United States Grand Prix. Alright, so we're sitting on the grid here. Engine sounds much different in the BT7. Waiting for the flag is up. And down right away. Getting a pretty good start. Bandini able to get by on the inside. Ginther also able to get by. Working up these S's here. You have to be very careful not to drift wide. On the inside I can see Jack Brabham behind me. My teammate is looking to the inside a little bit. Coming into the loop now. Fighting for grip here with the tires. This car running a little bit lower RPM than the Ferrari did. Shifting into sixth there. Down into third. Coming towards the final corner. The 90. Into second gear now. Have to really watch the inside there. Coming out right against the dirt. Starting lap 2 now. Not a bad first lap. Lost a spot, but it was clean, and that's what I'm looking for in this race. Obviously, I have everything to prove here. A lot to lose as well. Lose a good seat. Brabham is still a good team for the future. I'm running into the loop again. A little fast. Closing on Ginther here. I've had some good battles with Ginther throughout the season. Of course, remember back the French Grand Prix, making a good pass on him. I think at the British Grand Prix as well. It's a lot of racing here, though. It's a pretty long race, despite the shortness of the track, 17 laps. Pretty long distance. I can see, I think that's Jim Clark right in front of Ginther, not up front where he needs to be. Into second gear, into the final corner, kind of missing the apex there. Last corner there is called the 90. Into the S's again. The second S here, a little tricky if you run wide. The wall gets very close on the outside. Have to remember that if I'm trying to pass. Oh, and a slow car to the inside. Looks like one of the Brabhams. I think it might be Dan Gurney. He was in front of me. Not good to see this early on. One of my teammates falling out with problems. Of course, I'm driving a different car than them. It was kind of independently prepared, not officially part of the Brabham team. But not good there. Hopefully this car sticks together. I always thought the Ferrari was unreliable. Not sure. I haven't really seen Brabhams breaking down this season very much, so we'll see. That gives me a position there, as I'm kind of staying in tow here with Ginther. Not really getting that final corner how I would like to. I need to get a good launch for the S's here. But closing in on Ginther towards the top of the S's. And he's able to get the power down in his Honda. Now we're coming to the loop here. Be careful not to outbrake myself. We're sliding the Ginther. Right on his tail now. Think of where could I pass him. Perhaps going to the last corner if I could get close enough. I kind of bobbled one of my shifts there. Losing a little time on him because of it. I'm getting a nice run through there. Onto the front straight, right on him. Wasn't able to sneak up the inside that time. I can try to be closer on this next lap though. Towards the top of the S, taking a little bit wider of a line. Breaking a little soon there. Able to get a better run out than him. In the slipstream, he's able to pull away from me on the straights. Of course, I'm being a little tentative, driving so close behind another car after what happened in the last Grand Prix. I'm really close into that final corner. Not sure if I should just try him on the outside through there. There is quite a bit of area to the left coming out of the corner. Or I might be able to squeak in right there. That's a little daring though. right on Ginther now. Trying him to the outside. Oh, unable to get by him. That was... I didn't think that would work. Because generally, passing on the outside, you obviously have to go a longer distance, but he was sticking so much to the inside. I thought it might be a workable move. And I'm seeing another car here towards the inside. That's Jim Clark. So his race not going how he wanted it to. Just like in real life, breaking down here in the early going. And that's really detrimental to his championship hopes. Graham Hill, obviously, I believe, up front, at least, in front of me. Going to score a lot of points here. It's all going to be down to Mexico for Clark. Ginther right on me still. I believe I'll be able to pull a little bit of a gap here in these final corners. I think I was quicker through here anyway. Choosing to leave it in third, approaching this corner. I was shifting to fourth for qualifying, but it's just an extra thing I'd have to do during the race that I'm trying to avoid. I'm seeing a pass in front of me there. That's what I want to see, of course. People passing in front allow me to catch up, and actually I think that's a lapped car. We're probably going to get a bit of that here. It's a longer race, so there'll be some slower cars coming. Hopefully they're a bit easier to get around than, let's say, Monaco was. I'm seeing white flags as well. It means there's a slow car. It could still be Clark ahead, yeah. And I see him there on the inside. Just going to get into the corner before him. It's not going to slow me down at all. And getting past there. Nice and easily, letting me by. Through the last corner. Decent slide. Oh, he's just kissing the dirt on the outside there. I will want to check out my pit board next time around, just to see how we're doing here. There's been a few mechanical failures in front. I made the pass on Gint there as well to get that spot back. So I think I'm well within the top 6 here, which is really good. Of course, I know I'm in front of Bradlam. I saw, I believe, Gurney breaking down. Running a little fast in the loop. Behind a Lotus now. Not sure who that is. I think it's for position. I'm pulling off to the inside. They're letting me by, thank you. Final corner. I think I'm even closing in there. P4 with 8 to go. P4. This is good. And I can see the positions in front of me. Bandini must be in the Ferrari. Surtees not in the race. Of course, I have to think about last race with Bandini. Going to be a difficult and tentative pass here. If I can catch up with 8 laps to go, I think that's a pretty good amount of time still. Usually just about halfway through the race. He's slipstreaming somebody in front of him. I might be looking at a podium here. Shifting up to 4th now there. I think it's just a little better for the engine. I don't know how sensitive this engine would be. I know I blew the Ferrari engine in the first race of the season. But just missing the clutch there to time everything perfectly. Of course, this gearbox different than the Ferraris. All of it takes some getting used to. I had become familiar with how the Ferrari drove. I'm catching a Honda here. He's going to stay to the outside and let me by. I don't think that's Ginther. That'd be kind of strange. Of course, you can see if you did 110 laps here, just how crazy the trying to keep who's in front of you and who's behind you and who's a lapped car and who's not would be. Nearly everybody would be lapped by the end of the race, especially if you're up front. It's just touching the inside there. Some talking kind of set me out of line. Got back on it, saved it. Big moment there. This track is surprisingly easy to make a big mistake on. The elevation changes make it so that if you go off track just a little bit, you are going to be hard pressed to not hit a wall. Of course, beautiful in fall time in upstate New York. Of course, with this car, I've done the practice session, qualifying session with it, but I don't know how it kind of treats over a long run. I don't know if at some point the grip just kind of gives way, so I'm not going to be able to drive as hard as I'd like here, and I feel like I might not be gaining time, especially after that mistake last lap. I don't know if I'll be gaining time on the two in front cleanly this time through here. Just getting on the grass to the outside there. So far, I'm actually pretty happy with the car. It handles really well, so it's not really a complaint. I think the power is really the part that it's down on. I feel like I'm kind of struggling to just keep the car in a good power band and keep it going fast. I feel like it kind of tops out pretty early on the straights, whereas the Ferrari kept pulling kind of for the entirety of the straight. I can hope these two in front catch some lap traffic, as I see some right in front of me now. Catch some lap traffic that slows them down, or keep trying to pass each other and that slows them down. I think on raw pace I might be outmatched here slightly. I'm catching this lapped car, hopefully not in a bad spot. You have to kind of communicate which way you're going on the straightaway. To pull to the inside. Thank you. It's different in all kinds of racing. Sports car racing, faster cars passing slow. They always want the slow to stay on the racing line. We'll find the way around in the faster cars and Grand Prix racing. You want the cars to move over for you so you can get every little bit of speed out of the track. Up through the S's now. Red car in front. I don't know if that's a Ferrari or not. I know there's a few non-factory Ferraris in this race. I think this is one of them, yeah. The white stripe on the back. obviously being put a lap down now. He's a lot slower than me through there. Almost scary how similar that was to Italy. And I can see I've been gaining on the two in front, but I'm running out of time here. I think there's only a few laps left. Looks like they're trying to make a pass there. Very slow. Oh, and I think the Ferrari, I think Bandini was trying to get around this lapped car here. It's gonna go to the outside and let me get by him. That's helped me close in on Bandini quite a bit. He's obviously lost the battle with second place now. Perhaps he'll give up and let me catch up to him more without him knowing I'm there. Of course, you don't have anybody over a radio or anything telling you, hey, someone's catching you. For all I know, the same thing's happening to me. I think I'm pretty safe into that final corner. Always getting wide. I don't think I'm losing any time by doing it though. Oh, I'm really putting the pedal down now. I can see Bandini in front of me. How great would it be to pass the team that just kicked me out? Into the loop fast, but making it stick. Tires are feeling great. Concentrating now, trying to get every little bit out of the car. I can see more lap traffic in front of Bandini here. So coming to the line. Oh, and there's the checkered flag. Not able to catch him before the end of the race. I thought we had maybe a lap to go. That can happen sometimes when you're not checking the pit board. I'm closing in, but a good finish. I think I was fourth position, unless there's any problems in front. Not far off my best of the season. It's a good first showing for Brabham here. Brabham team should be pretty impressed, I'm hoping. I'm finishing in front of, I think, all of their cars. In the older model here, maybe I'll get the newer one for the next race in Mexico. And hopefully in the future, stick with the team for the 1966 season. Of course, we're going to the bigger engines in 1966. I mentioned it a few times, going up from 1.5 to 3-liter engines. Will change dramatically the Grand Prix racing here. You see a large difference between the stuff we've done this season and what we're doing in the next season. But a good showing, my home Grand Prix. Of course, I would love to win it, but it just wasn't in the right place to be doing that. Car is very slow here towards the end of the lap. Bandini there. Going into the pits now behind Jackie Stewart. So it looks like Graham Hill is in front of him. I was able to win a 1-2 for the BRM team. Really great there. Just absolutely crawling here. I have to go to my pit stall. And after the last race, breathed a sigh of relief that I finished pretty much unscathed. Was a decent race. The end here, pit board looking a bit wonky. All right, getting out of the car now. We'll check the final results. Looks like Graham Hill able to win from Jackie Stewart and Lorenzo Bandini in third. I'm in fourth with the BT7. Great finish there. I'm really proud of that. Richie Ginther behind me in fifth, and Jack Brabham in the factory Brabham team in sixth. So rounding out the points there. So hopefully making some sort of impression upon the Brabham guys there. Looking at the bottom, looks like Jim Clark had a valve problem. Dan Gurney had a coolant problem. We see some of the other cars a few laps down there. So obviously there was lots of lap traffic, and there would have only been more. One guy in there in 12th place, Pedro Rodriguez in the Ferrari. I think this is one of his earlier races. I think he might have made one other race this season, but he's going to be somebody to watch in the future as we get further on in the championship here. So, taking a look now at the points, Graham Hill, obviously with the win, up top, 49 points, over Jim Clark now with 39 points. That's it. That's the championship. Jim Clark can't do any more to win, I don't believe. Somebody correct me, obviously, if I'm wrong, but he can only score 9 points max. Graham Hill could get 0, and it still wouldn't be enough. So Graham Hill's won the championship 1965. Totally different than real life, obviously. Jim Clark dominated the real 1965 season, and we saw here he had a lot of speed, just wasn't able to capitalize on the results every race. John Surtees in third, Dan Gurney in fourth, tied with Jackie Stewart now, so Jackie Stewart's kind of made the leapfrog from me with his great finish here today. Dan Gurney obviously scoring no points, kind of slides down a bit, and they become tied for fourth place. I'm sitting there in sixth with 19 points. I'm picking up the 3 today, so I'm dropping all my 0 points finishes, which is great. Really happy about that. Gonna finish the season with all point scoring finishes, which is great. Lorenzo Bandini behind me with 11 points. Have to watch out for him, obviously. If he has a very good race, he could, of course, score enough points to overdo me. I think he would have to win, though, so I'm not too worried about it. Look down the rest of the points, obviously adding 3 more names to the bottom, people who made the show to this race. So that's it for the United States Grand Prix. I know a lot's happened. I'm sure there's a lot to talk about now as we go to the last race of the season in Mexico. Be good to get another race with the Brabham, show what I can do, and hopefully finish the season strong. Look forward to 1966. So that's it for this video. Thank you if you watched all of it. Of course, comment, subscribe, tell me what I can do to improve these videos, and I'll see you guys next time.